Fandom Family Chats. I'm your host, Shelby, and tonight I'm joined by Amanda.
Hello.
Eve.
Hi.
Maureen.
Hello.
And Jeanette's being a creeper tonight, being silent.
Hello.
Tonight we're going to talk about the season recap of This Is Us. All of season 5 had a lot to discuss, so let's jump right in.
How many episodes were there in season 5?
There was 16.
Yeah, that's short. Well, they usually have like 24, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they stretched it out by having lots of breaks. So I feel like it's been a really long season.
I think they had as many breaks as they usually do, but they started in September, so it felt like more because we only had 5 months instead of September to May. Because they usually have a Thanksgiving one, a Christmas one, a spring break one. I think that's it. But like one of their breaks this time wasn't like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it was really long.
Like I was looking at Shelby's notes. I was like, oh wait, all of that happened this season?
Yeah.
There was a lot.
All right. So what do we start the season off with? We started off with dealing with the outfall of the fight, right?
Right. I have first on my list, I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit about Kevin and Randall's fight, like just a recap of that kind of happened a while ago.
Yeah. And real quick, if you listen to our podcast before, you know that when we're doing a recap of a season, we don't necessarily go in order. Sometimes we do topical, we go subject by subject. So if we're going to talk about Randall and Kevin, we're probably going to go all the way through the end. Go ahead, Shub.
Their fight was pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
They said some pretty terrible things to each other.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really hard to watch.
I'm pretty sure I made a noise when it was going on, kind of a
yeah.
Just because I was like, oh my gosh, how could you? Why would you say that to each other?
I think I said that how can you say that multiple times?
Yeah.
Because that was a season 4 finale, right?
Yeah.
So then we had to wait from May to January to figure out. That was brutal. That was a brutal wait to figure out, because obviously you know that they're going to be something again. We had the flash forwards of Kevin and Randall at Kevin's house, but you never know how stable that connection is when we wait in that interim.
And even, I mean, in season 5, it even took a while until they actually spoke to each other. Like there was a couple, they were dancing around, dancing around, potentially, possibly calling each other, whatever. But like at the end, they all kind of chickened out, if I remember right.
No, Kevin flew out there and they had a real talk then.
They did eventually, but hold on. In my notes, I have give me a second. Oh, Randall called Kevin when he was on his way to the hospital to see Madison, but they didn't actually talk because Kevin said that he was going through too much, like trying to get to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then they actually didn't talk. Well, like they didn't have the conversation, but they didn't actually talk until Kevin got to the hospital and Randall was on the phone with Madison that whole time.
Yeah.
And then that's when Kevin was like, oh my gosh, like he didn't actually say this, but I'm sure that he thought, like, you're mad at me, like you pretty much hate me right now and you're still consoling my fiance.
Well, I think that when Randall went down to New Orleans, right? He went to New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he went down there and he kind of saw where Lauren came from and he talked to Hai, I think that some of him was repaired a little bit. So I think that when Randall called Kevin, I actually thought it was the other way around. I thought Kevin called Randall, but if Randall called Kevin, I think that was a little bit of him reaching out. And I think Kevin could hear that. But I think that the reason Kevin shut it down real fast is because Kevin's brain was going in 18 different directions and Kevin can't compartmentalize and deal with one thing at a time. He's got it. He's firing on all cylinders all the time. So I don't know that he kind of felt like, you hate me. I think that he knew that they were in a fight, but I think he just kind of assumed, like, and I'm going off of the conversation because remember when he called Randall from the hospital, he was like, thanks for doing that for Madison. Thanks for whatever. And Randall says, hey, we don't have to have this conversation right now. We have to do it face-to-face sort of thing. But I think that Kevin just kind of always assumed it was a fight. We'll get over it. I don't think he realized how deeply he cut Randall because he didn't know everything Randall was going through. And I think Kevin just kind of assumed this is a brother fight. We're pissed off. We're yelling at each other. but this is going to be fine. It was tense, but I think that he felt that on some level. I think he was a little surprised at how long it took.
Yeah, and even in the first episode, I think it was, Randall and Kate had that conversation too. And I have in my notes, I was proud of Kate because she didn't make it all about herself.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know how I kind of feel about Kate a little bit. I have a love-hate relationship with her, but I was really proud of her for not making that about herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that was at the cabin, right? On their 40th? Is that when that was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a really sad scene for me to watch too, because I mean, they've never really spent that time apart. And to just know that they were broken enough that they weren't together was a really sad scene to watch.
Mm-hmm. And at that point was when Randall was going through, he was basically spiraling because of the whole George Floyd thing that happened. And he was in the midst of getting a new therapist as well. So he was going through a lot, and then he pretty much just went to the cabin to make sure that Rebecca was okay because her medicine had that adverse reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up leaving, and that's when him and Kate started talking.
Yeah.
Was when he was getting ready to leave.
Mm-hmm. Man, I wish we'll get into it over the summer, but I can't wait until we can dive into season 4 and dissect some of the stuff that happened there, because there's like the whole thing with Randall and Rebecca that bugs the crap out of me still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Randall's a little pushy.
And I think that I don't even know that Randall really understood why he was being so pushy. But when he said to, and again, this is season 4, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly because I think it carries over into season 5, when he basically says to Rebecca, you owe me this. I've never asked for anything. You owe me this. I think that was a really, really low point for him to hit. And I think that carried over. And I think, honestly, Randall felt quite a bit of guilt about that, because that's who Randall is. Randall feels things very deeply. You see him in the times he's had panic attacks. He feels things very deeply. And so I think that when that happened, I think part of him felt justified, but I think he couldn't I think it was hard for him to reconcile the justification of that and the guilt of that. And then going off of that, the fight with his brother. So you could kind of see the snowball effect, because Randall's also not stupid. So I think he could see that a large part of his fight with Kevin was stemming from that. And so I think Randall, like Kevin, just had so much going on. And I think that the showrunners did a great job this season of every single person in this cast had 5 million things going on in their head at one time. And I think that made them more relatable, because they were all a little bit more broken than normal. And it kind of showed the intensity of this pandemic, because that just bled over into everyone's lives, and everyone was, you're in a pandemic, it's depressing. I think that they really did a good job with that with Toby too, because people who are depressed already have struggled with the quarantine, but there's a lot of people who are becoming depressed because they have no human contact. And so I think that they did a really good job blending all that together. I know a lot of people were complaining at first about, just leave COVID out of it, but you can't. It's impossible to leave that out of the show. It's part of what's going on in life. And that's what makes the show relatable, is that it's bleeding into our life so we can relate to them in that. So I think that they did a really good job with Randall and Kevin on that too, because even when they were on that stoop and they were talking, and I was really proud of Kevin when he pushed Randall to offload some of that stuff, because Randall was just going to shove it under the rug and I was really disappointed in Randall that he was kind of like, you'll not understand, so I'm not even going to try. And that felt like a really big cop out to me, that your brother who loves you is standing in front of you, trying to make things right, trying to understand. Yeah, he might not get it because he's not in your situation, but he's certainly never going to get it if you don't talk to him about it.
And he was standing there asking for it too. So it's like, he's literally standing in front of you asking to have this conversation. Why don't you just do the conversation?
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, a lot of things have to be on Randall's time where it doesn't happen.
Yep. Especially with words.
Yeah.
I get that. Even with Beth. I feel like Randall kind of leads. Beth doesn't let him do that very often, but I think Randall tries to do that with her too.
Yeah, he does. As best as he can with Beth.
Mm-hmm. That's why I love Beth.
Oh, I know. I do too. I adore her.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I struggle with season 3, Beth, though. I really, and we'll get there over the summer, but I really struggle with season 3, Beth. But I like her in season 5.
I have to go back and watch season 3 now to remember what you're talking about.
That's the one where they were working on their move to Philly.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember.
They were still out on the West Coast and they were trying to get over to Philadelphia.
Speaking of Beth, what did you guys think about her dance studio closing?
Oh, that made me so sad for her.
Oh,
I was
that
so
was
heartbroken.
disappointing. And also, like, as you saw, like, you know, she was on Zoom and like her class was starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then she was down to what, like 3 kids?
Mm-hmm.
And
then
one
it
was
just
Annie.
daughter.
Yeah, and one of them was Annie. I was like, oh, it's like 2.5 because Annie barely counts.
And then it eventually was just Annie.
Yeah. But
I
mean,
like
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was like, but we do see in the future she's standing at that studio, which I'm assuming is hers. That's the feeling I got, whenever we first saw that.
Yeah.
So
So somehow she gets the studio back.
Yeah.
I don't think she gets it back. I think she builds another one.
Yeah.
Or that.
So to me, like when it happened, I was like, it's sad, but I know it's all going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I already had that comfort that, okay, it's okay. It's just not the right time right now. That's how I took it. I didn't really get that upset about it. It was sad to see it go, but I knew it was going to be okay.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I still think it was my feeling about it being my heart breaking for her was just that Beth had worked so long for other people and Beth had done so much for others. And we don't know how long it takes her to get that dance studio. So we don't know how long she's in limbo. We don't know how long she has to fight to get another one. But you have to know that, I mean, with Beth, she doesn't give up, obviously, because she has a thriving dance studio in the future. So obviously she doesn't ever give up. We know that about Beth's character. I mean, that's built into who she is. But I think that with Beth, the reason I got so sad for her is, first of all, I want to call her Susie because that's what Vienne calls her, but Susan, she's a very good actress. And I say this on every show that we love. And this is part of the reason I love the shows that we have groups for, is because there is so much nonverbal that has gone through there. And on Susan's face, as they go through the lesser and lesser Zoom class, her facial expression gets more and more beat down and worn down. And the final day when she closes her studio, you can just see the heartbreak on her face.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's so good at what she does, the actress, it's really hard to not empathize and sympathize with her in that moment. And you can feel her. And I think that heartbreak is what fuels her to keep going forward, because that, I think for Beth, she almost needs something like that, because it's like, no, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. Because if I feel this way about this now, she's smart enough to understand. Beth is smart enough to understand herself to know that, okay, this is my purpose and this is what I'm going forward to do again.
Yeah. And just that talk Rebecca had with her.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell
I love that.
Oh,
yeah.
That was so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful to see.
Yeah. She had nice talks with Beth, and then also with Madison. I was like, wow, Rebecca's really going all out on this, in-law bonding.
Yep.
Rebecca's like turning into Jack.
And I think that kind of was a turning point for Kate too, because Kate's always seen her mom as kind of the villain in a way. And when she's seen like she can actually be supportive and decent to people, I think that was kind of like a turning point too.
Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of sad that that's how she's always, because she has kind of viewed Rebecca that way. And that's always been kind of sad to me, because yes, Rebecca has made comments that attacked her self-esteem without knowing that's what she was doing. And she was just trying to help, and it had the opposite effect. But I think that for Kate to hold all those things against her after Rebecca made overture after overture and just expect her to say the worst, it was really, that hurt my heart a little bit too for Rebecca, because as a mom, I can kind of understand, wanting the best for your kid. And I think there were probably moments when Rebecca was too pushy about the weight loss, about things like that. It wasn't from a negative place, but it was received that way. And I totally understand that. But there became a point when Kate just expected nothing good from her mom. And I thought that we really saw a difference this season, where she didn't just rely on Rebecca, but she confided in Rebecca more than she had before. And she gave Rebecca the benefit of the doubt more than she ever had in any other season, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think their relationship is getting a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
They would have like little pockets of time where they were understanding each other a little more, but I think this season was the big turning point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to see it, honestly.
It was about time.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I think even Kate having the baby brought them closer too. I mean, I know that was like, it was way back. It wasn't season 5, but even her having baby Jack, I feel like brought them together a little bit.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I think
yes,
that's
a better person.
No, I know. Sorry, here I decided not to be silent. No, I think that, and that's true for the course. I mean, I feel like, being a mom, like when you have a child, it's like all of a sudden you start to understand your own parents and some of the decisions they made. And I mean, at least that's been my experience. So I think that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can't count how many times I've caught myself saying things that I told my mom I would never say that to my kids.
Yeah, same.
Oh yeah. Who
I keep
hasn't?
warning my daughters when they say something like, that's going to come back to bite you. I'm just telling you.
Yep. It happens a lot.
Yeah, I tell my students things all the time, and I say, "Oh my God, my mother just came out of my mouth."
Yep.
It happens.
Weird
Yeah.
visual.
And then one day you'll walk by the mirror and be like, "Oh gosh, I am my mother."
See, I wouldn't mind that so much.
Oh, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah.
But I do think that the other aspect to it is that even with my kids, and I think Kate kind of got this a little bit too, is I find myself telling my kids, first of all, I was way worse than you were, because when I have to discipline, it's like, you aren't bad kids. You're not. I have to discipline you. So, but know that I went through the same thing, and I found myself having to apologize to my mom for some things, even now, because as a parent, I'd recognize how painful things were that I didn't realize were painful before. And I think that having even as kids as young as Kate has, I think it made her realize all the hurt, because her words were designed to hurt Rebecca more often than not. And I think her intent was, well, I'm going to hurt her first, because then she won't hurt me like she usually does, which is a stupid idea. But I think that that's what she did. And I think that having kids helped her to realize that that's what she was doing. And also the fact that Rebecca moved from where she was over to the West Coast to be with Kate and to be with Kevin. And I think that that started to mend it, where Kate saw that she does want to be around me. I think because she did that when Kate had Jack, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she moved to the West Coast right after she had Jack. And then I think Kevin followed.
Yeah. And then let's talk about Haley a little bit. That scene where Toby was out in the parking lot where they were having the baby was really emotional. When that dude
Oh, that poor man.
When that old man pulled up, I was like, man, there's an entire parking lot. I was totally team Toby on that one. Like, you're being stupid.
Yeah, at first I was like, is this man serious? Like,
Well, I mean, you
Until
guys know
hear-
him from Grey's Anatomy, so
Yeah, we all got a little scared.
I don't know
Like-
him from Grey's Anatomy.
Like, don't
yeah,
upset
then he
him.
went to the whole explanation. I was like, Toby, give up the spot. Come on.
And he did. And the guy ended up giving him a tchotchke for his daughter. And I thought that was so sweet and so kind. And it was just, I think that was a moment that wasn't just for the show. It wasn't just to edify their characters, but I think it was a reminder, because I think the other thing the show is good at, especially during this pandemic, is showing acts of kindness that we can implement in our lives. Because I mean, this past year was just a cluster of people being horrible to each other. There's just ridiculous fighting and backbiting and really terrible things people are doing to each other. And this show, I think all throughout this 5th season, provided these moments of sweetness from stranger to stranger. And I think that was something that they really pushed for, because I feel like there was a guest star on every episode, not star, but a guest cast member. And I think that they did that in almost at least half of the episodes, if not all. And I think that they were really good at doing that. And the other aspect is when they were talking about the surrogacy. Can someone remind me of the name of the surrogate's name? I mean, the surrogate's name.
I have it in my notes. Hold on.
I figured you would, Shipley. You're on the ball.
Well, first it said Willow, but that's not her name.
Willow's her daughter, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's daughter.
Oh yeah. Hold on.
But I did like her, and I liked the aspect that she said, and her even her story. She was a stranger when she met Toby and Kate.
Toby, it's a thing. You can say it.
That's right. It is a thing. Then I don't have to say two names.
We can make it a thing.
But even then, she was a stranger when she first met Kate and Toby. And the way, obviously, she had the baby and they wanted the baby and they were being nice. But I think it was more than that. I think it was Kate and Toby being Kate and Toby to this stranger. And I love that. And I also loved when they were fighting that they didn't make it seem like, oh, that's a terrible thing. You shouldn't fight, which was Kate's instinct. But this woman said, this is why I'm choosing you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they made it clear that it doesn't have to be perfect, no fight relationships, because that's not a real thing. That doesn't exist.
Which is why they should still be together, but that's another topic.
We'll talk about that later, Jeanette.
I'm mad about that too, just for the record. Elodie, that's right.
TBD.
Ellie.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Yeah.
That's Amanda.
Yep.
Which, by the way, shout out to my mom who just now tonight watched the finale. And during this podcast, she goes, what happened to Toby?
He got really sad because Kate made some really poor decisions.
I was like, we all want to know.
I mean, Kate's a person, she has a higher responsibility to not leave her spouse.
Right?
I don't blame Kate fully because I can't, but
we don't know the story, I guess. So.
Exactly. But I would really like to because she's marrying Philip.
Yeah.
I would like to blame her for right now.
I don't know.
Well,
did they say they were marrying each other at the end?
Yes.
No.
They did, right?
No, not
They
exactly.
did because Philip said there's no other way to spin this. Philip said, yes, I'm very much paraphrasing except for the phrase brother-in-law. He said, Kevin said, hey, I'm going to throw some British jokes up there at your expense. Is that okay? And he said, well, if you can't do your brother-in-law, who else can you do it to?
He did not say at your expense. He said he basically needed to ask his advice on making those jokes. And he said, if you can't make fun of your brother-in-law, then who can you? He never officially said, I'm holding on.
I'm hoping he's giving Kate away. And Kate and Toby are getting remarried.
The only problem with this is, you can look this up too. I think I saw an article from Dan Fogelman confirming that Kate is marrying Philip.
Yep.
Ugh.
Damn it, Dan.
But now, based on the dialogue, it could be spun a different way. But I think I saw that artitle. So,
yeah, we posted it.
Pretend we don't see that, and let me live happily in my head for the next couple months. Okay.
Okay.
Not gonna let it happen.
Let Amanda have her happy ever after.
No, if I'm miserable, everybody needs to be miserable.
But we don't know that Kate and Philip are still together when she goes to Rebecca's bedside. So there is still hope.
Mm-hmm.
There is still hope. Until Philip shows up there with her with a ring on his hand, there's still hope.
Here's what it says. Kevin says, hey, listen, you're okay if I do some British jokes at your expense, right? Philip says, hey, if you can't take the piss out of your future brother-in-law, who can you take the piss out of? All right.
Dang it.
I was wrong.
I know. There's no.
Why, Dan? Answer us why.
For the record, I would love to be on the world that you and Amanda are living in. But
all I'm saying, though, there's still hope.
There is still hope. Maybe my thing was maybe Toby's going to crash the wedding, but that doesn't explain why Toby is so sad and without a wedding ring in the future.
Well, maybe they get back together. Maybe he's there to comfort her through Rebecca, and the show ends with us believing that they're getting back together, and I'll be okay.
That would be great. But the only way for Philip to become a brother-in-law is if he marries Randall, and I'm pretty sure Randall is not going to give up Beth.
What if there's a secret kid?
If Dan Fogelman twists that story, Jack had an affair or Rebecca had an affair, I'm going to riot LA.
I think that would make me even more mad.
I will burn down buildings.
We'll take a field trip. I'll go with you.
I
What
get
if Jack
Jack
had a
burning
baby?
down a building when Jack burned to death, but still, that is
What if Jack had a baby before?
no.
No,
You
he
never
did
know.
not.
Hey man, military. You never know.
Stop it.
That would be a terrible way to end the series.
I saw a theory though that he's Madison's brother. Because
Who?
of Madison's mom leaving, Philip.
Now that would make him Kevin's brother-in-law.
Yeah. But Kate's the one in the wedding dress. Why is Kate in the wedding dress and Madison's not?
Her and Toby
Interesting
are
choice
redoing
of
their
a-
vows. I don't know. I'm
It's an
trying to
interesting
stretch-
choice for a bridesmaid's dress, but you know.
Yeah.
Beth and Madison are in matching dresses.
Hey, I'm gonna make this win.
I don't know.
Maybe that is a good theory. I will accept that one because maybe Kate and but no, it can't.
He says,
Toby is
does he
divorced in the end.
does he say future brother-in-law?
Yep.
Or just then maybe him? It's because him and Madison aren't married yet, but this is still Kate's wedding. Who
That's what I'm
knows?
saying. That one might work, but it does not explain why Toby is depressed, alone in a room without a wedding ring on in the future.
I mean, I lay depressed
know-
in my room without a wedding ring on.
I don't
sometimes.
have my wedding ring on, and I'm depressed all the time. So, but I'm still married.
So who does not want Toby there? Who's the girl who doesn't want Toby there in the future?
Haley.
Haley.
Why?
They've had a big fight. I don't know.
Yes.
Girls get mad at their
She's-
dads.
She's a teenager at this point, and Toby didn't want her dating that boy.
You know,
We've got to. Yeah, I mean,
You
this
guys have
makes
gone
sense.
deep on this.
We're making it up as we go right now.
we're gonna make this work just so we can have a happy few months.
And Vogelman, take notes
Yes, please.
This is what we need to happen.
because I'm certain you have not had this final season planned out. I'm certain of it.
No.
That you don't have any
No.
thoughts on how this
No.
You're
no
welcome,
idea.
Dan. We just wrote the last season for you.
We have no
Just
idea.
Toby and Kate. You know, I have a feeling that Beth and Randall are going to be just fine. Kevin
Yeah.
is married with kids. He's just fine.
To Madison.
Yes.
Mhm.
And see, even like at first, I was like, "Are you
Don't
kidding me?"
me.
When they didn't get married, I was so mad. But then I was like, "Oh, sweet, they're gonna get married."
I
Yeah,
was
they're
happy
still
for
going to be
Madison.
together.
I was happy for Madison though, because
Yeah,
it really spoke a lot to how far she's come, that she recognized, I want to be with someone who loves me.
Yep.
And he isn't there yet. I'm not going to marry him just, because.
for both of them, really, and that's why I think that that's the most hope for them to be together in the end. Because before their relationship together, neither one of them would have made that decision. Kevin would have spoken to whatever he felt she wanted to hear, which would have been, "Yes, I love you. Of course I love you. Of course I do." And Madison would have been like, "I'll do whatever you want." But
Yeah.
they both grown so much because of their relationship together that Kevin came out and said, I can't tell her I love her yet. And he told her, "I feel like we can grow to love each other," which I think is the biggest Easter egg right there. That he told her, "I feel like we will grow to love each other. I think as they raise their kids, even separately, they're going to grow to love each other." And I think their kids are going to be standing up at their wedding.
I have actually, going through the recap things online today, I actually found something kind of deep for Kevin.
Hmm.
So we're gonna start off with Kevin's childhood, okay? And how, like, in the beginning, all through the season, they've kind of been hinting at this. So in the beginning, they were talking about Kevin with his football career and how the coach was being mean. Jack told off the coach.
Oh, I love that scene.
And I know I was really surprised about that. But then Kevin was basically saying he was too tired to play football, blah, 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 regular teenage stuff. And then Beck was like, "You know what? Okay, if you don't want to do it anymore, you can quit." But Jack was more of the hard ass and was like, "Listen, you're not going to quit." So, and then they had the conversation that Jack called him soft. Kevin heard it and got offended. So then, hold on. That brings up the fact that Kevin is always good, but not quite great. So, according to the internet, hold on, my earphone fell out. Okay. So he's good, but not quite great. Then, let me see. Kevin leaves the show set to be with Madison and Labor, which he then gets told, because he left the show set, that he couldn't really get any more jobs because of him throwing his little temper tantrums and basically going off the stage to the Manny and to this show. So Kevin can't get another job. Kevin can't get another job then eventually, because of him leaving the show set, and like this is the second time that he's done it. Then hold on, let me find it. Kevin and Randall's tough childhood relationship, how they were always fighting and stuff. And like that flashed back to when they went to see Mr. Rogers, which I love that show because I love that scene because I love Mr. Rogers. And then how Kevin always felt like he was basically less than subpar to Randall. He always thought that Randall was the best. But I think that low-key Randall always thought that Kevin was the best, like in Jack and Rebecca's eyes, because Randall felt as though because he was adopted, he wasn't as good as Kate and Kevin. And I think that Kate and Kevin, maybe not so much Kate, but I think that Kevin felt like because Randall was adopted, he got more attention and stuff because they were the bio kids and Randall wasn't. Because they've had that discussion before, if I remember right, about Kevin saying like, you're too busy making sure that Randall doesn't seem too adopted and Kate's not eating too much or something like that.
Oh yeah, I feel like I don't know if he said that more than once or that just stuck out.
He said it more than once.
Yeah,
I think he has said it
over the 5
like
seasons,
several times, right?
Over the 5 seasons, he said it more than once.
That's such a typical, I think, sibling relationship because I can even, I mean, I've had the conversation with my brother that I always thought he was the favorite and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure you were. I think that's just how everybody feels.
But I mean, that's a real thing because like when you feel that way, especially if it's confirmed in some way, like I think there's a lot of scenes. I don't think that Kevin felt that Randall was better. I think he felt like Randall was smarter for sure. But I think Kevin knew that there were things that he was better at than Randall. I think his issue was it didn't matter how good I was. It didn't matter how much better than you I was. It was always you because you were the adopted one and they had to cover you all the time. You lived a charmed life because they had to give you all the attention while I had to work hard for it and you didn't. He had to begin pretending then because he felt that he wasn't going to get that comfort from his parents eventually. At some point he felt, okay, it doesn't matter how good I am. It doesn't matter how screwed up I am. I'm not going to get the attention, so I just have to be fine. And I think that at some point, Kevin started making that decision. And I think that's why he's so emotionally screwed up.
Oh, yeah.
But I love that scene in the garage with him and Madison. When he starts telling her, when she starts talking to him about her eating disorder, and then he starts telling her about his issues with his body. And I thought that was a really, really beautifully connecting moment. And that's the other reason why I think that they're endgame, because Kevin has never been that vulnerable with anybody. Kevin has actually fought tooth and nail to give nothing away to anybody else. Even Sophie, he fought to not give her everything of him because he never felt like he could. But with Madison, he felt like he could actually be himself. And I think that's better to start off going back to Bridgerton, where the Queen says, you are fortunate enough to know that a successful marriage starts with a good friendship to build that foundation. That's what Kevin and Madison have.
Yeah, I agree.
But another thing too. Go ahead.
Nope.
Another thing too that I had written down that I actually skipped was when they were talking about the sleep training of the babies. I'm kind of skipping around on episodes here, but when they were talking about the sleep training of the babies, Kevin was one of the ones that was giving Jack and Rebecca a lot of trouble, and they disagreed on how to handle that as well. And it just kind of brought back the fact that like Rebecca kind of babied Kevin a little bit and Jack not necessarily agreed with it. But I think that in a way, Jack babied Kate and Rebecca didn't necessarily agree with that either. The boys were kind of like mama's boys, and then Kate was kind of just out there with Jack.
Yeah. And that's often how it is. I mean, when you have a girl and you're a mom, you kind of, it's for me I only have girls, but I know what my brothers went through. And my brothers were annoyingly mama's boys. Annoyingly. It used to drive me, like I would lay my head on my mom's lap and my brother, who's 2 years older than me, would literally come on my mom's lap, shove my head off so his hand could be in her lap. And then she would play with his hair and I would just get so mad. But that's, boys do that with their moms and girls do that with their dads. There's daddy's girls and mama's boys. But I think that moms have this understanding of, I know what my daughter needs because I'm a woman. She's going to be a woman. I know what's better. And I think Jack felt the same way about his boys. but there, if you don't express that, it's never going to be solved. And I think that I do think Jack was right. I think Kevin was soft because I think Rebecca also probably knew that they were overcompensating with Randall. I think on some level, I think she knew that a little bit. It's hard not to know because she's you see throughout the seasons, Rebecca's constantly thinking about how Randall's receiving things. I mean, he's a Black kid adopted into an all-white family in the 70s and 80s. So I mean, it's a big deal. And I think that she was very much aware. I don't think she was aware of how hard it was for Randall, but I think she was very much aware that she had to say things. She felt she had to say things just right, be just right, make sure he never felt an ounce of anything, because not only was he not blood related, it was very clear he was not physically related to them. It was very clear. And so I think that Rebecca did kind of soften on Kevin a little more because of that. And I think she was soft on Randall because of he was adopted. But that scene where Jack says that he's soft and him not making him quit, because I think he said, you signed up for this, you're going to see this through. If you don't want to do it next year, you don't have to do it next year. But you signed up for this, you're going to see it through. You don't quit. You don't give up just because someone says mean things to you. But to talk on that scene a little bit more, I thought Jack was so sexy when he told that coach off in that bathroom. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I love it when he stood up for Kevin.
I love that moment. It was just, and I think what I loved most about it was it wasn't like, it was barely a threat. It was just a, don't call my kid stupid.
Yeah. And it was
like, I'm going to make this suggestion to you and I'm going to make it sound like a threat, but it's not.
Oh, it was a threat. And I think the coach understood it was a threat, and that's why the coach reacted that way. But Jack was saying, you know, the reason he didn't come out and like, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't screaming, because he knew he didn't have to. He knew that the coach would know that this is my boy and you don't mess with my boy. This is not me being macho. This is my son, my kid who you are damaging, and I'm not going to let you damage him. And I think that the coach understood in that moment that, okay, yep, I'm screwing with his son. And if I keep doing it, then I'm dead. And I really wish that Kevin had overheard that conversation. If Kevin could have heard what his dad had said, I think that would have altered a lot for Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
That coach was a jerk, though. I was kind of hoping Jack would hit him, but he wouldn't be Jack Pearson if he hit him.
Yeah, he couldn't hit him.
Oh, but it would have been so awesome to see.
I just wanted to hit him.
Just make
Another
Rebecca hit
thing
him.
that I had about another thing that I had about Jack too was when they were doing the car seats, when they were taking the kids home.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of similarities between Jack and Kevin's like experience, if that's what you want to call it.
Yep.
But the other thing was I saw Jack had whiskey in his car and he took a swig, and I'm wondering if that was the start of when he became the alcoholism stuff.
I think he was a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And Rebecca pulled him out of that. I think stress was a return to it.
Yeah.
But I think that he would go in spurts with his addiction. When things were easier, I don't think he needed it as much. And when things were hard, he started to feel he needed it. And then when it got really bad, when the kids were in their teens, when Rebecca was off singing, I think he could no longer control it at that point. But I think before, he had a problem where he couldn't really control either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I agree. I think we saw a lot of that. And
yeah.
Oh, I love that car seat scene though.
It is great. But I think too that was there a scene in season 5 or was it just a discussion we had where they were talking about did Kevin bring up when he lost his necklace? Or was that a chat that we had where we were discussing that?
I think we were chatting that.
Okay.
When we were talking about I think we were talking about when the shows made us cry.
Yep.
And I said that was the one that got me the most.
Oh, that one was hard.
It's hard.
We're not gonna go down that route. Nope. I don't want to do that right now. But I do think too that even going kind of back to Madison and Kevin, when they were Madison really showed her mettle when that paparazzi was following them in the car. Who else would have been able to talk Kevin down like that? Kevin was in fight mode, and when Kevin gets in fight mode, he doesn't come out of that easily. And Madison, it didn't seem like she had to work that hard to get him out of fight mode.
No,
it's because she's his soulmate.
Exactly. And it just shows how much maybe he didn't love her at that point, but it shows how much he respected and fully trusted her. He fully trusted Madison. And for him to do that is an enormous deal.
Yeah, he just up and walked. Like when she was like, "Oh, I got this," he just up and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that was great writing for them to do it that way. And I think that it was good that they didn't marry. I fought with it at first, but I think it was good that they didn't marry at the end of the season because they needed to have that point of growth. And I think they're going to need that point to realize exactly what each other means. I think Madison's already there. She knows she's in love with
Yeah.
Kevin, but I think Kevin needed that to see really exactly what he needed to. And I think, honestly, I think he needed to grow with her a little bit more.
Yeah,
And we
I
do
agree.
see in the flash forward that they are very friendly with each other. So
I think even if they don't get married, they will be
promising.
because they have the kids.
Yeah. But she says that she's told him what, like 20 times already that day, which implies that you've spent the whole
She
day
says
with him.
this morning. I already told you that so many times this morning.
Which means that tells me you
They
woke up with
together.
him, is what I think.
Yeah.
I don't think Dan Fogelman is heartless. So I
No.
think that him showing us all the girl stuff in Kevin's room intentionally and then having it seen with him and Madison, I think that he is giving us a breadcrumb of hope. He knows we're going to the last season. There's not really a whole lot you have to keep stringing us on. Now this last season is about closing up ends and bringing stories to conclusions. So I
Which is
don't
also
think... Go
no, I
ahead.
was gonna say, which is also why I really feel it in my heart that Toby and Kate will be back together at the end of this series.
In some way, shape, or form.
I just really feel like it's got to happen. And I don't know how, but I feel like it's got to.
I mean,
Because
that's
I think
pretty
they're
nice.
soulmates too.
Mhm.
And I don't know.
They made each other better.
To jerk it away from us at the very last moment
Mm-hmm.
without any time to
Yeah.
have us be okay with Philip, I don't think that's going to be the case.
No.
I hope
And
not.
I hope that because Kate takes things very, very personally like that. And I hope that she doesn't go through another divorce that's really going to wreck her.
Yeah.
Because I think that for her, she holds her parents' relationship up so high. And then she's got Randall's relationship that she's, got to own up to. Kevin hasn't been married yet at this point. So I think that Kate probably feels a lot of pressure to not, even she goes as far as saying in the finale, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I part of me hopes that she doesn't get divorced again. So, and I'm not connected enough to Philip to feel bad about this, but I kind of hope he dies.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Not
with
like
that.
a bad way. Like not because I hate him so much, but just to make it right between Kate and it's not like I'm talking about a real person here, people. I'm talking about a
Yeah.
fake character who someone
Maureen
else is
does
writing
not-
their story.
Maureen does not typically wish real people dead.
I do think that if she were to become a widow, I think that Toby that could kind of explain, like, he feels sad for Kate. He could be there to help her out of it. They have kids together. They have history. I mean, obviously, if they get divorced, that's reality. People get divorced. But I hope, because Kate will take that as a really big blow.
Yeah.
And we're not attached enough to Philip to really be invested in his storyline. All we've seen of him so far is he's been a jerk to Kate up until that very last phone call they had.
I just had a random thought as we're
Okay.
talking about this. Could there be some other reason she's marrying Philip? I mean, I don't know why. Do we know that they're in love? Maybe he needs, I don't know. Could he not
What, like
be
it's
I don't know.
What, like
I don't
it's a
know.
green card marriage?
Like, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I mean, like,
Because then if they split up, it wouldn't be such a blow to her. I don't know.
but her and Toby would still be divorced.
Well, they might still have gotten divorced. But if she's not truly in love with Philip, it gives me hope that her and Toby can find their way back to each other. I don't know. It's probably the wand, but that just was the thought there for a second.
But I think that having another divorce will still kind of be a blow.
Depends. I mean, depends on, I mean,
Only if you really like the guy.
yeah, I mean, not if you're not in love with him. Mm.
But I think I guess it depends on how much
grasping.
Kate has grown. If she's, because a lot of that we've seen of Kate so far, she has become a stronger person this season. I think her kids have helped her do that. I think her different relationship with her mom has helped her do that. But I think that for Kate, it depends on how far she's grown. If she hasn't grown very much further, I think that even having a divorce, even if it was a superficial marriage, I think she's going to take it as, I screwed up again.
Yeah.
I married this guy I didn't love, and now I've got to divorce him. But if she's grown, maybe she won't feel it. Maybe she'll see it as the responsible choice that, I really don't love him. It's not good for my kids to see us this way.
Yeah.
But I think you could see on her face when he said all those nice things about her in that final conversation he had with her that he had that he had something in her, but he spoke right to Kate's sweet spot. I think he has feelings for her, and I think that he also has picked up on her love language. And I think that that's something that she has been missing since Toby has been depressed. I think she hasn't been entirely fair to Toby because Toby has been depressed.
Yeah.
And I think she's just kind of expecting him to get over it and want to be a stay-at-home dad. And I think that she was really disenchanted when she found out he didn't enjoy being a stay-at-home dad. I think she was really disenchanted that, what do you have to be depressed about? Look at these things we have. And it's weird because Kate understands. It felt like she understood mental distress, mental issues.
The first time she was really supportive. So it's just, it's strange that she wouldn't be.
But I think it's because it's the first time that she's doing something that she loves and she's not prepared to give it up.
Yeah.
Which I get too. I mean,
I get
Toby didn't ask her to give it up.
Mm-mm.
When Toby in fact said, I'm not taking that job because I don't want you to quit this. And I think that's what ticked me off the most about that, is because Dan gave us this beautiful reconciliation and conversation between the two of them where they both decided, I love you way too much to ask you to get this thing that you love. And them saying, we're going to find a way to make it work. And then Toby saying, I love you. And she says, well, I think you just love the movie quote thing. And he says, no, I absolutely love you. To give us that conversation. And in the next scene, show her the wedding dress. It better be a vowel renewal. And that dude Philip better be Madison's brother.
Yeah, there's got to be. I feel like there has to be more to this.
You're tricking us.
There has to be something we're missing because that's just mean.
Yeah, because I get things happen.
Yeah, just to put them through everything and then no, never mind. Now they're getting divorced.
Yeah.
Right. Then don't don't show the reconciliation if that's your end game of them to not end up together. Like you could have just cut that scene out. We didn't need it.
I think that's why I will genuinely be mad if that's how they did it, because I mean, that's not good writing so much as it is being cruel to your audience.
It's trying to shock us. Yeah.
Because you've got us invested in this relationship for 5 years now. We watched them go through really, really low lows and come out higher than they were before. And you've done that over and over and over again. And we've watched them go through more than any other couple on the show has, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And to have them be pulled away, it just, the only thing that's tripping me up on this theory, which I love, by the way, Shelby, of him being Madison's brother, is that I don't know another reason yet. Not everyone wears wedding rings, but Toby was alone in a bedroom without a wedding ring on, depressed. That is tripping me up.
Yeah.
I think that's the only loose end to the brother-in-law theory of him being Madison's brother. But I'm gonna be genuinely mad because that's all it would have been, was just to shock the audience and to put a twist in there that didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Especially since I still feel like, I mean, I know you reread it, but I still feel like that conversation between Kevin and him was still a vague conversation. I don't know. I just feel like it was still
Which
like
conversation?
the one where he's saying like about being the brother-in-law. I feel like it was intentionally worded in a way that you could pick it apart. You know what I mean? Because they never said like they didn't say he was marrying Kate. Like they intentionally, I feel like, worded it in a way that it could be, interpreted different ways. So
I'm gonna
messing with our brains.
I'm gonna pull up that scene and see if Madison's got a ring on. Because I think I looked for that and I didn't see it.
Okay, you guys, I know you guys know this. When they're when they're visiting Rebecca for the last time, Toby's there.
Yeah.
Is that when does he have his ring on, or did we not to see that?
He didn't have his ring on. I checked.
He did not have a ring.
Okay.
Even when he's there, I mean, I know he didn't have it on when he was in bed. Have we seen like his hands when he actually gets to the cabin by any chance?
That's when he doesn't have it on. That's when I noticed it. I have an idea.
What is your idea?
Hang on. Okay, I'm gonna unmute it for a second. Oh, they put the wrong hand up there on purpose.
Yep.
Oh, that's mean.
That was deliberate.
Look, she's even laughing in our faces.
But did you notice that she, like, I'm gonna rewind it a minute.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna see this when we play it. But watch her ring hand where she keeps it. Oh, wait, shoot. See, she's intentionally like keeping it just behind her.
Oh yeah. You can see putting it behind her back.
Okay, one more time. Let's look when she's got the. Oh, it's too far away.
I can't see.
Enhance.
She actually angles her hand behind her body.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're engaged. There's no other reason he would hide her hand like that.
They're married.
Look
Other
at her
hand doesn't
face.
come up.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we'll hear the Philip line. Okay.
Yeah.
People
That's
are
better.
going to love it.
Okay. So we're gonna bring that right there. I want to know what exactly if he's like Congress or what.
But
But that was did you see that dress though?
Yeah.
There's a bra.
I feel like I've seen Madison in that blue dress that's in the closet.
I know. I'm getting dressed. But the wife wanted stockings. What the hell am I
Okay,
supposed
so
to do?
Randall's in black tie, black
The
vest.
article, by the way.
He's in black tie, black vest.
Oh, you know I look good, brother. Coming in. I don't know the rules, but I gotta get something cleared for the toast.
Get out.
What?
No, I told you 12 times this morning, no boys allowed.
Boys, I'm a 45-year-old grown man, thank you.
They were together this morning.
No.
And her hand is
come on.
just
No,
behind her.
just
She
to know
keeps
that movie
twisting her
quotes
hand,
or
in fact, to
impressions
keep
are
it
allowed.
behind her body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is the last time I'm doing this, so go crazy, brother.
That could mean a vow renewal. It's the last time I'm doing this.
Could be.
It still doesn't explain Toby.
Oh, come on. Jeez, kill a guy for trying to deliver a perfect wedding
This is going to be the
speech.
crucial moment right here. What is he wearing?
Hey, listen, you're okay if I do some
He's in
British
silver.
jokes at your expense, right?
Oh shit.
He's the
Sorry.
groom.
If you can't take the piss out of your future brother-in-law,
He's
who
the
can you
groom.
take the piss out of? Right?
He is.
This is gonna be good.
That is a bummer.
Maybe we're having a double wedding. He's getting married, and so is Kate and somebody else. You know, I don't know.
Nope.
I'm gonna keep coming up with stuff here. Okay.
I think they're doing a double wedding.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yep.
It's gotta be.
I would say that, but there was that episode or that article that Dan Fogelman said that is what you think it is.
I won't believe it until I see it.
Chrissy Metz also confirmed that.
I'm gonna just pretend that's not the case.
Where'd Shelby go?
She said her Wi-Fi like kicked her off or something.
All right, so we know that Dan said they're not together. Chrissy Metz confirmed they're together. We just saw in the video that we shared with you that he is obviously the groom because he's in the silver vest and everyone else is in a black vest. So hate to break that to you, but she is getting married to Philip. Whether or not they actually do go through with the marriage is to be seen.
Yeah.
Maybe Toby is depressed because he screwed it up and he realized, he missed his shot, but even though she didn't actually marry Philip, maybe. I mean, but we do see Toby depressed, and I do think that's why. I think it's the only thing to keep him is because he's not living with his wife and he's not living with his kids. And for Toby, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And this season, I was kind of disappointed in Kate for how, even with the job thing, like he was trying to tell her, this is a big deal. I'm not getting a job. And you need to understand that I need to work. And she didn't really give any credence to that.
No.
He was like, oh, something will come along. Don't worry. But he's actively telling you, I'm concerned. I'm worried. And she's just brushing it off.
Yeah. Well, but maybe she was brushing it off on purpose, like trying to keep him upbeat so that he didn't get down about it. I don't know.
But knowing even a little bit about mental illness or depression, you should know that that's brushing it under the rug does not help anything. It makes it worse because then you feel crazy.
Yeah.
When you start to get upset and you start to get depressed, you feel like it's all you. And that just makes you worse. Like I suffered with depression. I tried to commit suicide a couple times when I was a teenager. And my mom, when I told her I was depressed, her response was, what did you have to be depressed about? And I knew if I had told her in that time that I was depressed and she said that to me, my immediate thought would have been, right. What is wrong with me? There's something really wrong with me. I shouldn't feel this way. And that would just spiral down again. So I think Kate should have known and understood from this disease that he needed to talk about this.
Yeah.
She didn't give him that ability. He didn't feel free to talk. And that there were some people who were upset that he didn't call her or check with her first when he said, I want to be considered for the San Francisco position. But
Yeah.
the reason he didn't is because he didn't feel like he could tell her that stuff, because he kept trying to tell her that for weeks and she kept brushing it under the rug. So
Yeah,
he
now
felt safe to.
Now that I think about that, really bothers me because, a friend of mine had a mental health crisis earlier this year. And ever since then, I've been very hypersensitive over, almost anything. If she says she's having a hard time, like, are you okay? Like, is this gonna affect anything? So I feel like the fact that Kate isn't sensitive to that at all,
yeah,
it is really, really weird.
Especially since she used to be.
Maybe the 2 kids later, she's just over. I don't know. I know
sure
that
there is.
Yeah.
I'm sure she is overwhelmed, and I mean, she's got a kid with special needs. And then she's going through surrogacy. And I mean, those kids aren't that far apart in age either. I mean, it's not like there's one's 5 and one's a newborn, or one's 3 and a newborn. I mean, they're both.
What is Jack? Maybe 2? He might be 2, but no more than that, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is a lot.
Yeah.
And I get that. But I mean, at the same time, if your husband gets so depressed that he can't function again, like you've seen him do before, that's a problem. And if you can't listen to him, you need to push for it. You know what? Let's go to therapy. You need to go to therapy.
Yeah.
You need to go see a doctor. But she didn't do any of that. It was, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I think if Kevin can pick up on that, I think Kate should have.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about Philip a little bit, because we meet him in this season when she goes to work for that music. Is it a conservatory, or is it it's a school for the blind, right? A music school for the blind.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we first meet him, and he confesses this to her.
He's awful.
He's terrible. And I want to know why he just assumes on, is it because he's looking at her and he doesn't think that she can hack it just because he's a physical appearance? Or is it because she doesn't have the credence or the credentials behind her name? Like, what was it about her? He didn't even give her an opportunity. He said, if it was my way, you wouldn't be here, but it's not my choice.
Was there someone else that he wanted to have the job and she got it instead? I mean, it's very strange the way he just dismissed her without even knowing her.
I think it was her appearance, and that bothers me.
I think it probably was.
I think that certainly had a hand in it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the other teachers, like that one teacher who approached her about the job in the first place, she knew Kate because Kate had been coming there with her son. So, I mean, wouldn't you think that would be someone who has a background in music, whether it's a degree or not? They have a background in music. They have a son who is blind, who they work with, and who she keeps showing up to these classes. So, I mean, she's obviously got the credentials to do the job she was given. It's not like she was handed something she wasn't ready for or couldn't do. So I think a lot of it did have to do with appearance, and because she didn't have the degrees and the backgrounds, and she didn't go to school for it. But that's not always necessary. I mean, look at any musical artist today. How many of them have gone to school for music?
Yeah.
It's a very rare thing. So for him to be that way, I get that it's a teaching thing, but experience sometimes in that sort of situation is better and more recommended than actually having a degree behind it, in my opinion. So I do think it was a lot of, and that's probably part of why Kate sort of melted when he said those things to her, because I think it was a lot to do with her appearance at first. And for him to come back and say, I no longer feel that way, is kind of him saying, I no longer feel you are unappealing. And I think that, I don't think Kate let it feed her ego. I think there was a lot more into her and him breaking up. There had to be. But I think the fact that he validated that she was now pleasing is something Kate doesn't feel she hears enough.
Yeah. Except for Toby says that stuff to her. Maybe he hasn't in a while. I don't know.
He does in that episode, though, which is why it makes me so mad.
I know. I don't get it.
Dan, you better make this right.
Better, right?
Real. You put us through this for 5 years. It doesn't make any sense. And I get that real life happens sometimes. I get sometimes people get divorced. I get it. But in real life, you don't build up this relationship to be incredibly strong, have an amazing reconciliation, have really true, honest words to edify and to restore and then end it like that. That's not how it happens in the real world. So I just, and it makes me wonder, like, what, because we only got, what did we say, 16 episodes?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how much of there's, because I think Dan has pretty much had the outline planned this whole time. Didn't he say that? Wasn't there an article he said he's pretty much had all 6 seasons planned out?
Yeah,
I think so.
That's the rumor I heard.
Yeah. So you have to wonder what scenes were cut. Would we have seen more build up between her and Philip? Would we have seen more of their connection? And with Toby, would we have seen him spiral out more? Would we have seen him made more poor decisions? Because I think they had to take the opportunity they did in this season, because it's it was different for everybody. Everyone had a crappy season with TV. Everyone had shortened seasons. Everyone had to decide what was most important, what we had to take out. So I think that what Dan had to do was take the big storylines, the big plot points, and make those appear, even if there was no lead up. So as much as we feel robbed, there was probably supposed to be a lead up to that. We didn't get it. So now it just feels cruel.
But I feel like that's important. I feel like we needed to see some of that. I don't know.
But I think a lot of the things that we did see were also important.
I know.
So, I mean, they had to pick and choose.
Stupid COVID.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth, Eve.
The other thing we need to touch on is Beth and her mom. What is her mom's name? Because I can't keep calling her Felicia Rashad.
Carol? Is that right?
No, Carol is AJ's mom.
That's AJ's mom.
Yep.
I'm looking it up now.
Good.
So is Amanda.
Susan.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Susan Carol.
No, that's Susan.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
that's Beth's real name.
Carol.
Shut up. Is it really?
There we go. I knew.
It is Carol. We were both like, no.
Immediately, without any
Y'all just shot me down so fast, and here I was right.
Never again. But let's talk about that a little bit, because that one started off rocky.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, her mom annoyed me at first, and she's annoyed me in past seasons, how she kind of put all that stuff on Beth. But I think that they too, and I think it's preparation for the final season. They too had more of a reconciliation this year than we've ever seen. And her mom Beth stood up to her mom in a good way for the first time, and I didn't feel bad for her at all. I felt bad for Beth as her mom, as she prepared to have her mom invade. But I like that they had that conversation, and her mom still doesn't alter that much. But I think after they had that conversation, Beth understands where she's coming from a little bit more, because when she does the reading on like Tess or Annie, Beth receives it better. So I think that they've come to a more understanding of who the other one is. And I think that was a really good thing to put in there.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we don't see her again.
Then she disappeared.
She's living with you guys. Where is she? Do you have her locked somewhere in a cage? Like,
I know. It's weird.
At least give us an explanation for why she's not. I mean, we know that she's not there because they had to put restrictions for COVID, but you got to implement that into the show, man. You can't just make somebody disappear. You gotta
at least just like mention where she is or something. Yes. I don't know.
Or
she's
like
visiting Zoe. She's doing this. Something. She's somewhere.
Or text with her. I know a lot of shows did that. They employed a lot of text messaging for people who couldn't be on. Yeah, I was excited to see more of her, and then we never saw her again.
Nope.
It's like, oh, great scene, and then gone.
The sea is gone.
Now, what about Randall and his struggles this season? Let's talk about that a little bit.
That was sad.
I'm conflicted on it.
I don't know.
Some of it annoyed me.
Yeah, I was gonna say he made me mad, but I was like, I guess annoyed, because I wasn't like mad, but I don't know. It wasn't Randall.
No,
it just wasn't himself, and it just made me sad that, because I love Randall. I like Randall how Randall is.
Yeah.
And I didn't like seeing that kind of side of him. Which
And I
But
know it's
as the show does, this is real life.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the time, and I mean, I think just everything going on just hit him in a way that that I can't understand, and so I don't know. I wasn't really annoyed. I mean, I was annoyed sometimes at the things he said, but at the same time, I was sort of understanding in that I don't understand what you're going through, so I'm not sure that I can form an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like I get that one, I don't think any of us are adopted.
Right.
And two, we're 5 white girls. So we can't really fully understand what he's going through. But my issue with him was more from the stance of, with Kevin specifically, you're not Black, you're not adopted. So I'm not even going to try to explain this to you because there's no way you'll understand.
Yeah.
That was the wrong course. If you want people to understand what you're going through, if you want people to know where you're coming from, you've got to talk about it. You've got to educate. And if you refuse to educate, that's on you. That's not on them. But
And
he
if
still sort of
someone's-
punished Kevin for that. And I don't think that was okay to keep doing. And I think he sort of started to punish some other members of his family for it. But you're not talking to them. You're not trying to educate them. You're moving away from them. And you're going to these support groups where it helps you fantasize about what your other family could have been like. And I
think he was still processing. So I don't think he was ready to talk about it yet, which is why he was pushing everybody off. I mean,
you can't punish other people for that, though.
I agree.
Eve, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that if you have someone there who's basically begging to be educated, how can you not want to educate them? Like, I can get having the understanding, like, it's, they're just ignorant, they don't want to be educated, they won't listen to a word I say. But Kevin was saying, I want to understand, tell me what is going on. And he's like, nope, you won't understand. It's like, well, then make him.
And I think too that even not speaking to the stuff going on with George Floyd, because that's something that I don't know that I ever really will be able to fully understand. I would like to be talked to about it more. I would like to be more educated on it because I am a white girl. I can't understand fully what that community is going through. I can hear about it. I can make assumptions and opinions, but I don't know that I would ever really be able to fully understand where that community is coming from because I'm not in their position. I'm not in their shoes, and there's not physically a way for me to ever be in their shoes. But speaking to the adoption aspect, I think that is something that Randall has had in his head for years and years and years. And for Kevin to come in, so it's not even just the George Floyd aspect, but Kevin coming to him and even his mom and his sister saying, talk to us about this. And Randall was I think he was almost cruel. Like he seemed very superior in that moment. And I was really disappointed in that because Randall is usually the better one at saying, this isn't right, or, hey, this is my problem. And I mean, granted, when it's a tense situation, Randall doesn't do so well under intense amounts of pressure. And I understand that. But this, I don't think was necessarily pressure. It was Randall being angry and not telling anyone. And trying to pretend, because even when he talked to Kevin, and obviously the things Kevin said to him were horrible things. For Randall, he should have been able to say, I'm not okay, and even hang up on him. But on the phone, he's like, we're cool. Like, no, you're not, though.
No.
And I think that's what I admire about Beth, because I think Beth sort of pushed him to be like, have this conversation. You can't keep pretending that this is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very intense couple of episodes, but I mean,
but I love
that we're going to see their growth.
Yeah, because in the final season or the final episode, we see Randall and Kevin more kind, I would say, than they ever have been to each other in the whole 5 seasons. That final episode, they actually, instead of competing, instead of trying to, because it felt like a lot of times they were throwing veiled insults at each other constantly.
Oh yeah.
You didn't see that in that final episode because they talked, they had a conversation. They didn't hide from the issue. They dealt with the issue.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many adults I had to say that to. Can you just deal with this issue? Can you please just have a conversation about this issue and just be done with it? Yeah. Obviously, it's probably never going to really truly be done for Randall because He can't be unadopted.
Right.
Unadopted.
Unadopted.
He can't go to white. So these are going to be issues that are constantly there for Randall. So I don't mean done with it in that way. I just mean done with it in the way that you're confiding in the people who love you. And he did that. And once he did that, they were better. I really liked seeing their dynamic in that final episode. Randall was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So is there anything else in this season that we haven't talked about? Because we're going on an hour and a half here.
Did we talk about Randall and Rebecca's conversation? Did we cover that in the last episode?
I think we covered that in the season
the finale episode.
Yeah.
Shelby, what were you gonna say?
What did you guys think of Malik and Randall's relationship growing?
Malik?
I love it.
Yeah.
I do
I think they're
too.
cute.
I think that was pretty big.
Isaac the plant.
The basil plant.
I don't know why that sticks in my brain so much. It was
because it's so typically Randall.
Oh,
and then Malik's like, "Oh, okay, you named it.
You named it." I would just like to say that I also name my plants.
I don't like to get attached to things that I kill.
Oh, you know what though?
I sounded way more ominous than I meant it. I've only killed plants, to be very, very clear.
I thought I killed Christina, but she is starting to bloom again.
Okay, that's a
Is this like after Christina Yang? Is this where her name comes from?
Yeah,
or?
she's ever since I got this plant, she always looks like a sourpuss.
Yeah. I don't know how a plant looks like a sourpuss, but okay.
If you saw it, you would know it. My other plant is Wilma. I only have two. I kill every plant. So I'm taking it very slowly.
I've been told I need to get a cactus because you can't kill those.
Oh, yes, you can.
Oh, I did.
Can you?
So did we.
Because I automatically said, well, I will probably find a way to kill it.
Oh, I killed cactus. I've killed bamboo, which is apparently not killable.
Yep. Aloe. I've killed aloe.
Oh, all the time.
Constantly.
I've tried aloe 1,000 times. No, I kill it.
My mother-in-law had this cactus for like 2 decades, and it was fine. And then she gave us some. She like helped us cut off a piece so we can grow it. We killed it within a couple months. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about?
I have no idea.
Tess.
Did we talk about Jack?
Who?
Like Jack
Pearson?
Like
obviously Pearson.
Yeah.
I meant
Jack Jr.
I meant Dad Pearson.
Well, it could be Jack Damon, you know.
Junior. Yeah, Jack Damon. Wasn't he born this season, or was that last season he was born?
Last season. Haley was born this season.
I thought they were both.
That's
born
why
this
he's
season.
at least 2 by now.
Oh, okay, never mind. Did we find out he's blind this season? Something happened this season with Jack.
Because
no, that was last season.
Madison was pregnant at the end of last season.
Oh my gosh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's because you watch. Didn't you watch them all this year, though, Amanda?
Yeah, I did. I binge watched.
Yeah, you've gotten confused.
I'm all mixed up. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
So we should talk about Tess. I think that's the last thing we have to talk about.
Yeah, that's an important subject.
I'll let one of you guys go with that. She annoyed
Even
the crap out of
though
me this whole season. The whole
this,
season.
but that is a very popular opinion from even everybody in our group.
What, that she was annoying?
Everybody's starting to actually really dislike Tess, which is kind of upsetting me because I think she's a teenager. She's trying to figure things out. She's pushing limits. I think she's just a confused teenager right now. And I think it's normal for a teenager to act like that, really in her position. Even though, she's made me mad several times.
Right. I struggle talking about her because she makes me annoyed, but at the same time, I want to defend her. So
yeah, that's how I feel. Like I want to defend her because, I think
it's the mom in me that just has to defend her because I'm like, oh, she's just a kid. But
it's the mom in me that's annoyed with her.
Well, that's because I'm a soft mom, and I get the impression you're not. So
I'm not a hard mom. I just don't tolerate any disrespect from my kids to me.
Yeah.
You don't get to disrespect me. I'm actually the fun mom of my kids' parents, but you don't get to disrespect me. I don't care who you are.
No, I think that's true. But I think there's probably, I mean, granted, I don't have teenagers yet, thank God. But my guess is there's a fine line to ride. I mean, as far as like the pick your battles type issues, because I think they're teenagers and they're gonna be disrespectful from time to time. And I don't think that means you let them, but I think you have to also be understanding of what they're going through. Because I mean, when you're a teen, I feel like you feel things much stronger than you do as an adult. And
I don't know much stronger, but I think that you're more confused about what you're feeling.
Maybe that's it. But I mean, I feel like you feel like, I mean, just like you think that things are the end of the world. When, as an adult, we can rationalize and realize that it's not. But for a teenager, I feel like a lot of times things feel a lot more important. I mean, I don't know. Like,
they feel a lot bigger than they really are.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think adding in her sexuality,
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Trying to figure that out, you know, was just an extra component to her being so emotional, and which probably led to her disrespectfulness a lot of times.
Yeah. I think she feels like her parents don't understand her. And I feel like they do, but I feel like I don't know if the communication is just not well with them. I feel like Beth and Randall are open. I feel like they're ready to talk, but I don't feel like Tess is being as open as hopefully she ends up being.
Yeah.
I just don't think she's there yet. And I hope we get to see her, you know, grow.
I mean, I think as we've seen as adult, Tess seems like a very pulled together, respectable individual. So I think she's going to get there.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything you said about a teenager, but here's where I differ with Tess specifically, because I do agree. Teenagers, even, I mean, my kid's not a teenager. She's still disrespectful. It doesn't mean that it's not like I shut her out, but I let her know, hey, not okay. You don't get to do that.
Yeah.
And I think Tess has used what she's going through as a weapon against Beth, specifically Beth. Not Randall, Beth specifically. Yeah. And she's made Beth so afraid to discipline because of how she uses it as a weapon that Beth has been walking on eggshells around her the whole season. And that's why she annoys me. It's not because she's going through something. It's not even because she's snarky. It's because she's used it. She's found it felt to me like she found a loophole and she's using it to her advantage, like with her girl up in her room.
Yeah.
Saying she knows without a doubt. Tess knows because it's happened before. Deja's not allowed to have Malik up in his room. Why should Tess be having special treatment? I get you're going through something. I get that you're confused, but you don't get special treatment because of that. She still has to be a parent and you are still the child. And I think that Tess has used what she's going through as a weapon against Beth. And that's what I don't like. And that's why she did me, because but Beth didn't do anything about it either. But Beth also felt like she couldn't, and that's why. And that's why Tess
didn't she do something about that situation? I mean, she went up there
until Tess called her a name. Nope.
But she went up there and said, I feel like she said something to him about that, because she said Deja isn't allowed to have boys in her room.
When they had the conversation afterwards, yes. But I'm saying Tess felt like she should be allowed to do that. Tess felt she should get special treatment. And she closed the door. And that's why she called Beth what she called her when Beth came up to open the door.
I mean, I think about being a teenager. I've definitely tried to find ways to get boys in my room as much as I possibly could. And that makes me sound really bad. I don't mean it like that. But I mean, I would have tried to like bend the rules if I thought I could.
Yeah, of course you try to bend the rules. But you don't look at your person that you're with in front of your parent and start calling your parents names to that person because they come in the room. That's my point. It's not that she tried to break the rules. That's why we know what happened with Deja and Malik, because they also tried it. Right. So I'm not expecting her to not break the rules, but it seemed to me like she felt like she should get special treatment because she's confused and she's struggling to go through this. She should get special treatment. And that's why she felt brave enough to start calling her mom names in front of her mother's face to her person.
Yeah.
That's not okay. And I appreciated that Beth for that. I felt like it was the first time since it happened that Beth wasn't tripping over her words to try to please Tess.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I think what it was just their dynamic is what irritated me. And that dynamic I felt was down to Tess. So it's not that I'm irritated so much with Tess. Yeah. I was irritated with their dynamic because the whole season, Beth tried to please her with everything she said. Beth tried so hard to go above. I think even Randall called her out on that a couple times, like, or her mom did maybe, but someone called Beth out on how she was walking on eggshells and how she was just catering to Tess, and you can't do that. Even in the episode with the wedding, it's like, this day isn't about you. You didn't want to switch you just wanted a different dress than the dress you had, and I get you're confused, but this day's not about you. And so I appreciated that they had the conversation. And the reason that didn't annoy me as much as all of her other crap did is because she at least spoke to her mom respectfully there. She was able to convey, Mom, I have a problem with this. Mom, I'm struggling with this. Mom, I'm confused. Mom, I'm not okay. But she wasn't punishing Beth for it, which is what she's been doing all season.
Yeah.
So that was my issue with Tess. It's more just the dynamic between the two of them. Is there anything else that we need to discuss about the season, or anything else anyone wants to say about the season?
I don't think so. I think we got it all.
I think we pretty much touched on everything.
All the big stuff, at least.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that 16 episodes took us this long to talk about.
Are you really? It's us.
This is us.
This is us.
That's all we have for you on Fandom Family Chats. You can reach out to us via email at familyfanclubs@gmail.com or on our Facebook group, Pearson Family Fan Club. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. All those links will be in the description. Just remember, the more feedback we get and the more viewers we have, the better our ratings and the more fun content we can bring you. So tell your friends about us and join us next week when we talk about Grey's Anatomy. Bye.
We'll see you in a week, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.